Well, I bought some more junk. This is just 6 of a few. Let me get the car to the other unit. We'll unpack. We'll take a look at it. And I'll tell you guys more about this story. Well, here we are back in the main garage. And you can see even more. These are not the same. This is only one of 2 batches. And it's actually 3 fewer than I had originally ordered. So, long story short, a member in the crypto community, who I don't know if he wants to be named, so I won't, found these in an unclaimed freight auction, as I understand it, and he picked up 34 of these server cases. I know what he bought them for. He got them for a song, and I expressed interest. Turned out one thing led to another. He only wanted to keep 2. So that led 32 of these left. I struck a deal, and we found through Backwards Miner, and actually his boss of all people, a family member that lived nearby and had a shop that could deal with freight shipping. So he ran down with some intense coordination, picked these bad boys up, got 2 skids, some wrap, some straps, got them all labeled up. 16 came up to me, and 16 plus some cords went up to Backwards Miner. So my pallet showed up. I just unpacked it and brought it all down here in my car and stopped on my way down here to give 3 to a local crypto mining friend. And then I've got this batch right here, minus that one. These are all going to more local friends. And I brought 1 additional over just to test it and see exactly what we're working with. Well, here she is in all her glory, and you can tell just by the layout here, 4 120mm fans, 2 USB 2s, power reset, and 2 LEDs, that this bears a striking resemblance to the new Magic case from Nerd Gears. And you would be correct. As far as I can tell, these are both OEM'd by Lianli, and I believe they even have the same motherboard. But let's get the lid off and let's take a look inside and scout for differences. And here we have it. A little joke. I put the new Magic lid on top just to show that they are indeed the same physical case. Okay, back to serious business. So inside we can see some Maverick thing. I'll pull that sticker off because it's very interesting underneath, and as I do that, I will walk you guys through the rest of this. So, as I understand it, this is a BTC-S, as in Sam, 37 motherboard. It's an 8 GPU riserless solution. We have a 2U form factor power supply here, which I have not been able to audit the wattage on, but Backwards Miner, who bought the other half of these cases, assures me that it's 2400 watts, which is great. It definitely has more 8 pins than the new Magic. And the fans I was noticing in the photos, we'll take a look at that in a second, but I believe they are 3-pin 120mm PWM fans, which means with the addition of a very inexpensive fan controller, these cases could actually be useful with the stock fans in an indoor environment that isn't for hosting. Down here you can see the RAM is glued in, and I don't understand why. But you can see the little integral heatsink and fan there. That covers up a 6th gen Intel Celeron dual-core mobile processor. Of course, we have a network interface on the back. We have 2 USB 2 ports, and I believe we have a VGA. I don't think these have HDMI. I think they were just a little bit too old for that. Anyway, this is the little interesting tidbit I wanted to show you guys. Octominer B8 Plus. So I think, if I had to guess, these were overstock from Lianli, who OEM'd the B8 Plus for Octominer, and they decided to sell off the rest of the stock in their own case. So the Octominer case is set up a little bit differently than this. However, the actual mounting and form factor is very, very similar, and they may have even retooled for this bulk order. This power supply reminds me a lot of the Octominer Ultra unit, the old one, like that guy right in front, because of the fact that each strand has triple 8 pins. That's really, really unorthodox these days, and that's something I saw first on those Octominers. So anyway, let's take a look at the fans. And you can see here, it looks like we have a single PCIe, and then it's got all of those cables going into... Yep, oh wow, they're actually 4-pin. They are 4-pin. These are PWM fans, so that's fantastic. Fantastic. It was a good pun. My plan, though, is to replace this with a fan controller. I'm guessing the higher-end version, they probably would have offered that too. But these fans are much, much higher quality. And I'm guessing... I bet there's octominer writing on those underneath. They probably were left over from the B8 Plus as well, because the earlier fan controllers and the octominers also looked a lot like these with these little pigtails. So I'd almost guarantee that the first gen octominers at least were OEM'd by Lianli. We have a, I'm guessing, 64 gigabyte M SATA SSD, which is fantastic. And yeah, the spacing's a little tight, but honestly, for most 2-slot GPUs, and some 2.5s even, this should be okay. Man, they got that zip tie guy on the clock for a few too many hours that month. I will pull the M SATA just to confirm what size it is. I know for sure these have 4 gigs of RAM, and I'm not really looking forward to pulling that Scholastic, so I probably won't. I did count all of the cables, and it looks like we've got 3 shorties, one of which is 2 6-pins and a Molex, which I'm quite confident is designed for the motherboard, and all of the new Magics just run a single pair of 6-pins into the board. And you figure if these are high quality, they are 18 gauge, they should be good for 150 watts each in theory, or a 300 watt strand. And if you divide 300 watts across from 8 slots, sorry, I had to do some math. 37.5 watts a slot, which is more than any NVIDIA I think I've ever tested draws. And it's okay for most AMD as well. Even like 5700 XTs on Kapow are barely above that. So if you were really nervous, you could swap that out for one of the triples, even though it doesn't really feel like the wiring going into the power supply is any sturdier. Anyway, you have 18 8-pins up here, plus 2 more on the board down here. So you can divide those however you want. You have 20 total, which is not bad, frankly, not bad at all. And yeah, again, this is supposedly a 2400 watt unit. So let me rip the MSAT out, we'll check that out, and then after that, we will test the case out. Make sure it works. Oh, I was wrong, I forgot. There's another triple down here. So, God, what does that make? 23. Not a lick of branding on it anywhere. But I'm actually going to say this is 128 gigs because it's got 2 chips on it. So let's see. Let's see if I'm right. So I was wrong. I was on the right track because there were 2 chips, but this is a 32 gig, unfortunately, not a 64. So a 64 would have the top pads populated as well. Doesn't matter at all. There was a Hive install on there. All I did was throw a new rig config, wallet, autofan, everything like that onto it. So now that that's in, let me find an Ethernet cable and a power cord, and let's fire it up. Annoyingly, I'm seeing that that fan is backwards, but not necessarily, actually. This could be good, because I found that these cases cool better when you flip those fans around, so... interesting. Hey. That's a good sign. We want those lights to shut off and then turn back on. Let's see. Please? Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Excellent. Now let's see if we can find it in Hive. Wow, that came up fast, and look how old that build is. 390.48. Holy cow. That is ancient. These have been offline for a really long time. There you go, though. 4 gigs of RAM. And it looks like this version of Hive is so old it hasn't even done the volume expand yet. So before I shut it down, I'm going to go ahead and upgrade everything. But yeah, 390 is ancient. That might even be from when I started mining, or earlier. All right. Well, that version of Hive is so old, I can't self-upgrade, I can't shell in, I can't VNC in, I can't do anything. And I don't know the rig password, so I'm going to end up rewriting that one more time. Not a big deal, but I did fire up the fans. All of those went up very, very high speed indeed. And I was noticing that they're all very, very short, so I don't think those were actually necessarily intended for this case, because there is an extension in use. But anyway, I digress. They all work perfectly. They don't rattle. Everything seems good. And since this is reversed, and I have issues keeping this power supply cool, my plan is to swap that PSU into that 5700 XT New Magic, and then I don't think I'll do the same up here because I haven't swapped those fans around. I kind of want to do that test to see which case cools better, because I mean, effectively, right? 4 120mm fans, 8 5700 XTs, plus the 140 in the power supply, which kind of doesn't matter. Still very, very curious. This is a little bit louder, but as you guys have seen in the past, this is the same fan that's used in the Vitretu and the old Octominer 12 Pros, so I'm not worried if I do have to resistor mod one of these potentially. I do not know if these work on 120. Maybe that's something we should try real quick. Moment of truth. Yes, they do. Yep. They do. Perfect. I don't know how many watts they're good for on 120, but they do at least fire up. With a reflash, everything went absolutely perfect. So this case is good to go, and that gives me high hopes for the rest of the batch, frankly. I haven't heard of any of these being DOA yet, and honestly, they're not new, but they appear to be extremely low hours, just judging by how little dust is on them. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys.